and welcome back everyone, welcome back to another edition here of the KungFu Cup, the KungFu Cup monthly number 3, the November monthly day number 1. I'm of course just VIP with enjoyed by these amazing players, by the people in chats, and by my flashies as well. Welcome one and all. I do apologize for going live a little bit late here. Totally didn't sleep in and just wake up. I did. It's fine, Papi, it's fine. But we are back with something different, something special, with a replay cast. Again, these events did occur a week ago, a little bit more than a week ago, but we're here to catch up with those replays. Unfortunately, this event did actually clash. It clashed with another event with a lot of our casting that was currently going on, so we're here to catch on up with KungFu Cup. Let's go, Bobby, let's go. Again, shout out to SC Boy. They're the organizers of KungFu Cup, and KungFu Cup did recently mark its return after the announcements of the return of the Chinese server. The Chinese server is coming back online. There's been a bunch of celebrations, a bunch of tournaments, a bunch of show matches organized, and of course KungFu Cup returning in full force as well. So it's been great to see kind of like the growth and the continued support from SC Boy, and of course a lot of hype and excitement around the return of the Chinese server. Let's go up first, and when it comes to the main event itself, it is a double elimination bracket. Here we go. Let's switch the scenes over and catch up on the bracket itself. But as you can see here, it is double elimination. We'll do my best to try to set it up here. Un momento, papi, un momento. Oh, beautiful. But it is going to be a double elimination bracket. As you can see here, we have our upper bracket quarterfinals. We have a Classic versus Solar, we have Hero versus Kiora, Reina versus Gumiho, and Showtime versus Mana. In today's broadcast, we do have 4 series. 4 series is going to be best of 3s. Later on in the tournament, that's when we have our best of 5s and even greater matches and greater series. But for now, we have our initial best of 3s ready for us here, the upper bracket quarterfinals. And now first, we have Classic and Solar facing off in that best of 3 ZVP. Let's go. Let us go. Game 1 is going to be on Title Citadel as we load into our first series of the broadcast. Once again, when it comes to our matches here, Solar has been having a lot of success specifically in ZVP, and we'll see that success continues here as well. As spawning in the top left-hand corner of Title Citadel, we have the South Korean Protoss player, we have the Blue Protoss. For Virtus Pro, it is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Zerg player, we have the Red Zerg representing Falcons. It is Solar. Here we go. And again, if you've been following the CranKy Ducklings over the past 3 weeks, again, Solar, he has been excelling in this matchup. We've been seeing non-stop 3-base all-in, 3-base all-in after 3-base all-in after 3-base all-in. Has been very successful here in these ZVPs, and we'll see how Classic compares. We'll see how Classic is going to approach this matchup as well, considering the shifts in the meta. Now, what's important about ZVP, and very quickly getting into and delving into why we've seen a rise of all-ins, is because of the map pool. These maps here, whether it's Title Citadel, whether it is the Old Republic, or whether it is Tourmaline or Ruby Rock or 10,000 feet, a lot of these maps actually have exposed bases and have difficult to defend 4-base setups, as opposed to the previous map pool. In the previous map pool, it was much more viable to go for a Stargate opener into +1 and into Forge and Twilight Council, into Temple Archives, into Early Storm, into a defensive setup on 4 bases. But even here, as you can see, we do have a very spread out 4-base setup here. The 3rd and 4th base are very far apart, so it does make it difficult to rotate between the bases and to defend the bases. On top of that, we have this accessible ramp here that you can knock down to open up the area and to have a 3rd attack path in between the bases as well. So it can be very awkward to actually pull off a defensive build and defensive style on Title Citadel. On most maps, to be honest, on most maps in this tournament map pool. There are some maps where it is easier to defend. I'm thinking of Winter Madness, for example. Winter Madness, White Rabbit. There's some maps where you can secure yourself 4 bases, but they are fewer and farther between as opposed to the others. And that's also why we've been seeing a lot of rise in popularity of 3-base all-ins, as they have been much more successful here to break the defending trolling player. So the ZVP meta has shifted quite a bit. On top of that, with the buff to Banelings, it also means that Banelings survive extra ticks of Storm. So Storm is a powerful zoning tool, that is true, but at the same time, Banelings are now surviving storms, making it through them, and now are more effective and more of a danger as well to the defending Protoss when it comes to trying to preserve your High Templar and preserve your bases. So again, there's a big factors coming in, and as a result, we've seen Protoss players stop going for these more defensive and greedier builds. We have seen more of an aggressive change here, even from the Protoss side of things in PvZ. That's where players like Hero have been excelling quite a bit, and we'll see how Classic also responds. For now, the Solo going for his third. Just hatch gas pool into a third base. Likewise, we do have our Stargate opening into Oracle play at a Classic. So far the opener is as it should be. So far we're settling in. Calming down, calming down. As Classic going to continue to shade, he's just checking for gases, checking for tech, checking for early Evo chambers, early Rotorns, early anything here from the side of Solar. Likewise, Solar has been having a plethora of builds available to him as well, whether it's Ling Bane Hydra all-ins, whether it's German taxis. So eyes are going to be on Solar. As the Oracle takes a lot of hits getting into the natural. There is no Spore. Drone's going to be going down, but the Oracle has taken a lot of damage already here, and we'll get 2 drones before pulling out, before pulling away. So a lot of damage. It's an okay start here, but Classic does keep the Oracle alive. But I'd say a better position for Solar just because of how low the Oracle is. Behind this, early Twilight Council. So Twilight Council's on the way. This does look like early Blink. The other option would be early Glaives. We'll keep an eye on any kind of Forge timing. But again, this has become a little more common from the side of Classic, is early tech. Orca dips in, gets 2 more drones, 4 in total, pulls away, does pull away in time, extra gateways, and there's a delayed Forge. So because the Forge is delayed, that means there should not be Glaives. There's a higher chance it's going to be Charge or Blink, leaning more towards Blink here. And if it is going to be Blink Stalkers, then that leads into a very early Blink timing, which we can make use of. Show us what you got. Meanwhile, we have our vanilla depths moving out. So we have 6. There it is. Blink is on the way. And the Classic is going to be threatening that third. Now, once again, when it comes to this early Blink timing here, this does allow Classic to apply pressure to the 4th base, to be active, aggressive, apply pressure, and maybe even force a cancel. As Depths do shade into the bases. Blinks are keeping up, Adepts are locked down, and yeah, no major damage here from Classic. Also, I should quickly add to, yes, he's hitting early Blink, but as you can see here, that is a Templar Archives. We are not going for a gateway explosion. We're not going for an early Blink timing. Looks like this early Blink may just be defensive as we get into earlier Storm. So this is more of like the traditional ZVP that we've been seeing over the past year of play, and this is kind of what we saw a lot of last season. I would say that this is less effective at the moment, and specifically on Tidal Citadel, Solar he expands towards Classic, going for the gold. So a massive boosted economy here for Solar. It's going to be difficult to hold. It is going to be a tough hold. The Lings they poke in, drop into the main base. Hydra production has begun, and Solar is cutting workers at 63. He can of course Maynard. He should of course Maynard over towards the gold. Fun fact: I think this is the first ZVP that we're casting here on Tidal Citadel. Like just because I haven't seen players take this gold before, and it just makes sense. It does make sense. Queens are pushing in. Its own Classic here to turtle up. So he's throwing down his shield batteries, his cannons, warping in more High Templar, gathering more Storm. As we mentioned, once we saw the Templar Archives, that told us that we were not going to be hitting an early timing. And Classic is going to try to turtle up. And we spoke about this. Now, these rocks are different to the rocks on Tokamak. If you remember, on Tokamak, there were 2 layers of elevation before actually getting onto the rocks themselves. It was actually quite difficult as the aggressing player to knock down the rocks on Tokamak. Here, a little more accessible. It's a little more accessible, already taking some damage. Classic has to be wary. Pokes in, pulls away. Ooh, gets us around on 2 of those Stalkers. On 1 Stalker. It's 1 in the end. Once again, Rocks are being knocked down. Solar, he may now jump towards the goal base, and you can see Solar, he's not droning. He's not droning up. This is only for Larva, so he's on a, technically he's on a 4-base economy, but with a boosted economy thanks to the gold minerals. Oracle goes down, and here comes the all-in. An even greater all-in here for Solar. He's rallying forward. He's on 6 gases. Storms are coming in. Storms will connect. So he lands 2 storms. I just say pull away. Nice concave. Oh. And he should be getting behind the mineral line. Yeah, the High Templar exposed. Losing 1 High Templar already. Down to 5. 5 Templar left. Oh. Storms, a somewhat connect. Yeah, 3 storms go down. Hydras are falling. But the problem here is that Solar, he's traded well enough. Now there is 0 High Templar left, and we're just rallying. At this point, we're just rallying in. Solar, he does want to preserve those Hydras though, as he's reinforcing with mainly Ling. There we go, gets us up the Archon. Gets 1, gets 2. And Solar, he's not gonna stop. Just building up. Oh. Storm connects. And again, that was the final storm. So no more storms. Archon's going to go down. We're down to a handful of stalkers. The boys are being pulled, and Solar, he's done it. He has broken this position. He's broken the expansion. And again, this is not just a 4-base all-in, but a boosted all-in thanks to the gold base, thanks to the minerals. If this does hit even harder, and it's even more difficult to defend. And again, I'm not too fond of the build choice here from Classic. GG gets called. Solar, he'll take game number 1. He'll take a lead in the series. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Again, a bold move here for Classic to go for this, like, quote-unquote older style of more defensive play, but as we were trying to emphasize at the start of the series, like, this kind of play is weaker in the current patch, in the current map pool, not just as, but specifically here on Tidal Citadel, and this is applicable to some of these other maps. There are certain bases, whether it's gold bases or whether it's high-yield gas bases, that the aggressing player can take to punish a player that's turtling up, so it can be even more difficult here to kind of maintain that 4-base setup. GG. GG, well played. With that, Solar takes the lead in the series. Now we're loading into game number 2. Let's go. Let us go. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the Old Republic, we have the South Green Protoss player, we have the Blue Protoss down in the series. We'll see if we can bounce back and make a series out of this. Representing Virtus Pro, it is a classic. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Red Zerg player, the Red Zerg player himself. Representing Team Falcons, it is a Solar. So I'm just setting up some of the other matches. Just setting up. Beautiful. Beautiful. So from here, welcome one and all to the Old Republic. The Old Republic is a larger map in the map pool. That is true. It's a very large map, but similarly to Tidal Citadel, I mean, I say similarly, it's a bit of a different kind of scenario and situation. Here, the 4th base is very spread out. You're very spread thin here when it comes to the linear 4th expansion. The area between this base and this base is quite long, quite large, and you expand further away from your natural location. So rotating between your 4th and your natural can be very difficult. We have seen players try to solve this issue. On top of that, it's very open. It's very open, very wide entrance into this 4th base. On top of that, players have tried to expand on the low ground instead, going for the low ground 4th expansion, but it's also very accessible here. It's very accessible. You have a massive flank and a massive concave pushing into this expansion, so many Protoss and Terra players have struggled and failed to defend on 4 bases. We've seen 3 base play be relatively successful, that is true, but getting a 4th base up and running is insanely difficult here in this matchup, specifically on this map. So we'll see how Classic does adjust. I don't like the idea of Classic going with the same build he just went for last game. So we'll see. We shall see. So far, Solar Force take the unnatural natural as well. Does expand here at the 3rd location. Does expand elsewhere. Yeah, so now there's that Stargate back at home. Standard opener, just going for the Stargate. Solo getting his 3rd. We're droning, and we're just waiting for the early tech. We're waiting to see if we have an early Evo chamber, if we do get into early Twilight Council play. Unlike the last map, there is no high yield gold base, but there is a high yield gas geyser. I would say that if Classic were to try to be defensive and to try to turtle up, not just the fact that the bases are exposed, but the aggressing player can take this high yield gas geyser base to get further tech and to try to rush into a greater late game. With a faster gas geyser like this, you can actually go into faster lurkers. So you can open up Ling Hydra, get a faster hive, get faster lurker tech. That is going to be a viable option here for Solar if Classic were to play it the same way. Otherwise, you can just all in. That's true. I mean, there's options. Aye, aye, aye. Since that soul's just too good. As I mentioned before, like I do think that there's a bit of a learning curve when it comes to how the meta has shifted. Again, the new map pool is relatively new, and players are still kind of like adjusting to it. And we have seen most Protoss players stop going for the build that Classic went for last game. Even Classic as well. It's just less viable. It's a shift in the meta pack. Speaking of earlier, Twilight Council earlier than last game. Okay. Twilight Council's been thrown down. Now, last game we had a relatively early Twilight Council with a late Forge, but still going into a Temple Archives. Here, if we don't see a Forge, this could be for Glaives. Show us what you got. So Oracle's out. Oh no! Oracle's a poke in. One Oracle. Ooh, does go down. This is not worth it for Classic. Gets 4 or 5 drones. Classic pulls away, but does lose an Oracle. Meanwhile, safe play here by Solar going for the Roach Warren. Getting into the lair. Delayed Forge, so early Blink, later Forge, earlier Warpins, and are we going for the Temple Archives? So far, we are not. Oh. So try to collapse in. He's going for the same builds. He's going for the same build. He's going for the Temple Archives. He's going into Storm. Classic is going for, once again, a more turtley, a more defensive style. More tech-heavy style. The Overlord sees everything. The Overlord confirms the Temple Archives. So Solar's fully aware. From here, Solar, as we mentioned before, he has 2 options. He can either go for an all-in, or he can be hyper greedy and try to rush into more bases and try to kind of rush Classic into greater tech. Ooh, and he's going into, not Hydras, the Spire. He's going for Mutas. So Spire is on the way. I mean, again, Muta play is viable here. The reasoning for this is because the map is so large, right? The Old Republic, even though it has more exposed 4th bases and 5th bases, is a very large map, has a lot of room to traverse. So I do like the idea of going Mutas, whether it's on Old Republic, whether it's on Title, whether it's on Winter Madness. I mean, there's a lot of large maps. They collapse in. Ooh, they do pick off Stalker. No shield battery, no battery. More probes gonna be going down. As target firing at a Solar. And he scouts all the gateways. He saw the Temple Archives. 4th base has been spotted. And again, it's gonna be a tough hold here for Classic. So it'll be easy. Safari is being distracted. We have our Mutas on the way. 11 Mutas. That's more than enough to one-shot. Solar tempted. Tempted to dive in. Picks off. Oh, doesn't quite get a stalker. Dragging the army back. With more Lings on the way. Classic is going for an earlier push. And how many High Templar? He's got 2. 2 High Templar. Second Stargate's on the way. And Mutas are revealed. It dies on the Templar. Oof. The Storm does get extra damage. Queens are pushing in. No transfuse. Yeah, we did miss a transfuse there, so 2 Mutas are going to be going down, getting a 3rd Muta. Barely 3. Nice shots from the Archon. Yeah, this is a tough hold here for Solar, bleeding out so many Mutas. Oh my god, bleeding out every Muta. Yeah, expensive defense. This is a worthwhile trade for Classic. Again, thankfully, he did not stay back at home. He pushed and he punished. If Classic was passive and was defensive, then, I mean, he'd be on the back foot. But he trades well. And behind this, making 2 Phoenixes at a time. So, double Phoenix production. He killed, what was it, 8? 13 Mutas went down, and this build has not been worth it. So far, it's just not been worth it for Solar. Solar still has the advantage. Solar still has map control, and you can see he's massing up a Ling Roach army, but this all-in that Solar's going for, this like big attack, is weakened because of all those dead Mutas. Elimination here in the main base, on the Stargate. Muta's going to be zoned away. Again, we're massing up more Lings, more Roaches. And we'll see if he can break Classic. Now, what's scary here is that Classic, because he's reacting so hard here to the Mutas, he's making a lot of Phoenixes, the ground army is lacking. We only have 2 High Templar. Like, the low High Templar count is crazy. He needs more Templar. Here comes the all-in. Remember, no upgrades. He's got +1 melee. +1 range just now began. Mutas, they do fight, so they do try to trade. And here he comes. Yeah, here he comes. It's the first storm. First 2, the only storms. Archon gets piled. And the Roach Ravager is just barreling in. Oof. How's it connecting? Queens are a little bit late to the party. Yeah, the Queens are late. Files. Oh, 2 Grazer Stalkers. And we're just reinforcing with Lings. Yeah, more Ling reinforcements, more Roaches as well. And again, it was a rough start for Solar, but he just doubled down. He just doubled down on Ling and Roach production. Losing all of his Queens. Solar, he's running out of steam. He doesn't break the expansion. Yeah, barely not. Again, despite the lack of storms here, Classic, he held on well enough. Throwing down more cannons, more shield batteries. Can he hold on? Ooh, and Solar, he's teching. Hydra then. Still going for the Hydras, getting into Hydra upgrades. Solar, he's very committed here. He needs to do more damage. So that's a low Stalkers. Warping in 6 at a time. You can see he's being a little bit more meticulous with his piles. Oof, very nice. Piles on the side defense. Trading with Classic. Getting ready for his Hydras. And you can see Solar, he wants to switch out of Roaches. He's trying to switch in Ling main Hydra into more efficient composition. Going for the counterattack. Templar building up. Ooh, Classic's out of position. We spoke about how spread apart these bases are. How isolated they are. Takes on all the cannons. The cannons, they do buy some time at least. Xiaomi's arriving. Nice piles here on the Oracle. And Classic, he's holding. Yeah, he actually responds. He holds on. He's going to lose 10 probes here in the mineral line. And remember, Solar, he's switching out of Roach Ravager into Hydra. Oh, no, the Wilds! Oof. Yeah, there we go. Hydras are revealed. Classic knows. Oh. Crazy blink? Jesus. He blinks into the army, and he's going to be punished for it. Classic, that was not it. Yeah, that was not the blink to go for. Does get punished. A better fight here for Solar. It's a hero. Is that you? Is that blinking into creep into the army with that Solar. He still has momentum. He's building up. This Classic, it does have 4 Templar with the army, soon to be 4 Storms. Getting up to 6. Okay. So 4 on the right and 2 on the left. 6 Templar in total. Prism was spotted. Does distract, and now Classic, he's going for the fleet beacon. Again, the goal here is to turtle up on 4 bases and turtle up into Sky Toss, but as I mentioned, it is much more difficult to do so here. As you can see, there's no side defense. There's no side defense. We're just now finishing up 1 shield battery. The area is more open. It's the first storm. Solo's looking for a way in. And we're going to have a tri-pronged attack. We do have a flank on the right, we have a flank on the left, and we have the main army in the center. Let's force to cancel. This will delay. Solar rotating back over. This does come down to the storms. Remember, there's at least 4. Ooh. There's the first 3. That was the final storm. Yeah, there's the 4th storm. We should have 2 more High Templar coming in. Barbarians, they make their way into the mineral line. There are the 2 final storms. And Solar, he gets in. Oof. 8 probes. 8 probes, but alas, not enough lings, not enough reinforcements. And Classic, he's barely hanging on. And Classic does hold. We have the first carrier in production. Let's go. Getting his first carrier. Classic has to be careful being lured onto creep without any storm. Remember, Classic, he has 0 Templar left. And it has been intense. Like Solar, he's been on lair tech this entire time. 14 minutes. Oh, he'll lose the expansion. Solar, he doesn't care. Oh, he will tank a storm. Solar, he wants to keep pushing. He's forced back home. Yeah, Solar, he has to turn back around. Nice pick up by Classic. And Classic is closing that gap in supply. Like Classic, he has had a really hard time getting past 150, but he's getting there now. And the carriers are amassing. And carriers, they're not really ideal scaling into a longer game against a more late game composition, but Solar doesn't have a late game composition. Doesn't have lurkers. There's no lurkers, there's no hive. Like Solar, he never had an intention for the game to last this long. And Classic, can he stabilize? He's almost there. Could all Roach Hydra. The plan was never to go Roach Hydra. The plan, the initial Roach all-in failed. So it's all about Ling Bane Hydra, which is a more efficient composition. But the game has lasted too long. If the game has lasted too long, Classic is now outscaling Solar. Again, Solar, it's going to be all or nothing here. He has to cripple the base, cripple the army, maybe reset the carrier count. Rotates to the left-hand side. Side defense buys some time. He wants those High Templars. A lot of storms. He lands 1, lands 2. Ling Bane cannot quite engage. Oh, gets 1 Templar. There's still 4 left. Jesus. Yeah, storms are connecting, and Classic, he's done it. Classic, he's done it. We did mention that Classic has just outscaled Solar. Solar, he's been on the lair tech all in for the past 16 minutes. It's crazy just how long this game has lasted. But again, this is also a learning process for Solar. Remember, Solar, he initially didn't go for a Ling Hydra all-in. He went for the Roach Ravager all-in first, which obviously has a little bit less potency. Failed to break the 4th base. And it's been rough ever since. Shout out to Classic for buying time. For buying time for pulling off that defense as well with his Stalkers. And GG gets called. Classic ties up the series 1-1. We are going to the ace match. Whew, GG. Again, the all-in has failed here for Solar. Once again, winding it back, Solar, he committed originally into a Roach Ravager all-in, which did have a little bit less teeth, a little bit less potency. It does not scale too well into a longer mid-game. And very quickly, we saw Solar realize, oh, we made a mistake here. We have to switch out of Roach Ravager into Lingbane Hydra. But as soon as we saw that, as soon as we saw the Hydra Den, that was a really rough moment. I almost said like that was a game then and there, not really, but like that was a really rough moment for Solar to recognize that the tech that he had invested so much in was failing, and that he had to switch out of it into a different form of all-in, into Lingbane Hydra instead. So it was a really rough moment, a really rough decision. By the time he switched into it, it just took so long. It just took too long, to the point where we had a Classic taking up into carriers, of course, and by the time he got a handful of carriers, by the time he was able to build up his high temple count, that was game. That was game then and there. Solo was outscaled, and again, a really impressive defense here by Classic, and as I mentioned before, more of a learning process for Solar. And let's go. We're getting into the ace match, getting into game 3. Gonna be loading into Winter Madness. Here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner here, Winter Madness, we have the South Korean Zerg player. We have the red Zerg representing Team Falcons, forced into a tight series. It is Solar. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the blue Protoss player. We have the South Korean Protoss of Virtus Pro. It is Classic. Also, I apologize just because I did just wake up and I'm a little bit groggy, but I kind of glossed over my mind, so I do apologize. But again, one of the reasons why the Roach all-in was so weakened, it was so weakened for Solar, if you remember, was because it was not originally a Roach all-in, it was mutas. Remember, he went muta first and he made, what was it, 13 mutas, and then he went into Roaches. And we saw that Classic, he was more active early on, and he was applying more pressure, and he forced a defense out of the mutas. Mutas, they're not built to be defensive, they're not built to fight head-on. Solar was forced to, and he lost 13 mutas. He lost 13 mutas in that first push, and that just took so much of the wind out of the sails of Solar, and that's what weakened the Roach all-in that he had tried to go for. Just because the muta play was not worth it. It was just not worth it. So just a really awkward game state there for Solar. And now, welcome to Winter Madness. Welcome one and all. Winter Madness, I would say, is a more defensive map, more so than the previous maps we just had. You can see here the distance between the 4th and 3rd is shorter than that on Title Citadel. On top of that, we have more choke points. These are more narrow choke points here at the 3rd and at the 4th base. So, and at the natural. So in general, I would say that this is probably the most defensive map in the map pool. This is the most defensive one, more so than Title, more so than the Old Republic, more so than any of the other maps out there. I would say that this map is in contention with White Rabbits. I think they're both more defensive, but this is going to be more ideal for Classic. If Classic wanted to go for the same build and go for the same style of Blink into Storm, into turtling up into Skytoss, I do think this is probably the best map for that kind of play. Meanwhile, from Solar, I would have said that I would really like to see muta play here. Like, there's a very high chance that Classic is going to turtle, so this is where mutas can be really successful. But we just saw mutas in game 2, and I don't like the idea of going to mutas 2 games in a row. So we'll see. We shall see. For now, Stargate opener out of Classic. Be as annoying as possible. We'll delay the base. Wi-Fi shades in. Trying to shave off some wings. Nothing major yet. So far poking in. That is a big delay on the 3rd, by the way. The pylon does finish. Ay, ay, ay. Pylon finishes. The drone is trying to expand. Adepts, want the drone. He wants it. Oh my god. One more shot. And he does pick off the worker. Oh god. A really rough start here for Solar. Losing the drone. Unable to expand. Heavily delayed 3rd base. And with that, Classic is looking comfortable, looking good. Classic expands. He comes to third base. Lings are now going for the pylon. This is where the Oracle can shut down the Lings. Ooh, Classic, a bit of a misread. He believes that Lings are moving out across the map, but they are revealed. So pylon goes down. Solar, he expands towards Classic. Now, on the one hand, yes, this is a very late third base. True. On the other hand, now we can spread creep faster across the map towards the Protoss. So this will allow for better creep spread. Evo chamber out of Solar, going into +1, going to +1 melee. This does look like a more Ling Hydra heavy composition instead of Roaches. Meanwhile, it is going to be a Twilight Council from Classic. Once again, earlier Council, we're expecting gateways into a later Forge into a Templar Archives. So far, this looks like the same build 3 games in a row. So far, at least. Meanwhile, 3 drone kills, forcing a... Oh, God. 4 drone kills to, what was that, 2 cancellations. Ay. Classic having the best start here out of this entire series. Out of all 3 games, gets 7 drones. 7 drones go down. There's Blink, and we are waiting for that Temple Archives. Oh, we have a greater gateway explosion. Okay. Link just try to poke in. Oracle's race back home. Getting up to 6 gates, I believe. Yeah. So 6 gates set up. Now, last game, if you remember, we would go up to 4 gateways, then get the Temple Archives for Storm, right? It'd be earlier Storm. Here, no Storm. Here, delayed Temple Archives, more gateways, and because of the early lead, Classic, he could turn this into a 3-base all-in. He can go for an 8-gate. He's got 6 so far. So 6 gateways so far. We'll see if he throws down a 7th gateway. If he throws down a 7th gateway, that's going to be indicative here of him going for a proxy and him going for an all-in. And that would make sense considering the exposed expansion of Solar and considering the momentum that Classic currently has. Oh, goes in. Gets 2 more drones. Nowhere near as much. Losing one of the Oracles may deter Classic. Like, the Oracles are actually really crucial to support the Stalkers when you go for an 8-gate. Oh. He's only got 1 Oracle left. He's going for it. So, yeah, Classic is going he's going for the 3-base all-in. This build was very popular a couple of years ago, but this does make sense considering how much momentum Classic has. As we mentioned, Solar has taken a lot of losses. Solar, his tech is delayed, his economy is delayed, everything is late here. But speaking of late, the proxy is delayed. Classic, he needs that pylon, he needs that gateway, he needs reinforcements. As Classic pokes in, we can see Solar setting up for this round. And Classic has to get the hell out of here. Blink is done. Does blink away. Whew, just in time. It blinks away. There's a proxy gateway. Again, 3-base all-in at a Classic. Solar, I don't think he's seen enough to really confirm this. And Solar's droning. Oh, okay. Did make away with workers. Very nice choke point here for Classic. Across the map. Gets off the cannon. Words are being pulled. Classic, he will hold. Not without losing probes. Yeah, losing 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh god, this is getting out of hand. Yeah, no shield battery. No battery back at home. 8 probe kills. That should not have happened. Nice run by Solar. Does cripple the economy. This will slow down and weaken the all-in. This slows down the economy. This slows down the warp-ins. Classic, he has 8 gateways, but now he can't really make full use of them. Losing a Stalker. Remember, the longer this goes on, the better it's going to be for Solar. Like Solar, he's slowly building up Hydras. And Classic is on the timer. Meanwhile, Solar, he gets in. That should not have happened. Lings, they get into the main, and it's a natural. Ay. Hero. Yeah, the hero is brutal. That's going to be 11 probe kills. Classic losing too much back at home. And now Solar's building up a critical mass of Hydras. It's building up to critical mass. Classic up to 25 Stalkers, but he has to end it. I just don't think he has enough anymore. The Oracle goes down. And no more Oracles. Hydras, they start to step forward. They're picking up more stalkers. At the same time, Soul, he gets in once again. The wall is just open. Classic, por favor. He just keeps getting in. Now, that wasn't the cleanest trade for Solar. He bled out a lot of Hydras himself. He's been trading. Classic, can he still do this? Can he still pull this off? There's, what, 6 Hydras left? Down to 5. Down to 4. 4 Hydras remaining. The boys are being pulled. Again, Solar, he was a little bit careless here. It's very close. It's still very, very close. We have 7 more Hydras on the way. There's some Zealot reinforcements. Oh, does blink in. He does focus fire. He gets 1, 2, 3 Hydras. 4. And he's done it. Yes, classic. He has done it with the Zealot reinforcements. He gets on top of the drones. The Zealots are going to be enough. GG gets called, and classic. He barely pulls it off. Pulls off the all-in and takes down Solar. GG. Whew. GG, well played. A very messy end to the game and a very messy end to the series. Winding it back, I'm not opposed to the build that Classic went for. What I mean by that, I'm not opposed to the decision to go for a 3-base all-in after doing so much damage. I think it was really smart. I really like that decision. Unfortunately, as you saw, the defenses were lacking, and that made it closer than it needed to be. The fact that he only had a cannon back at home and no shield battery, the fact that we saw time and time again that Zealot was out of position and was not actually walling off the natural correctly, it meant that Lings that got in there got into the main base, the natural, they got into the third base as well, the economy was crippled. It meant that Solo was able to make it more chaotic than again it needed to be there, and it was close. It became very, very close. We saw towards the end that Solo, he committed to one big fight where it was basically just pure Hydra against Stalker, and Solo, he was losing a lot of Hydras there. When you go for Ling Hydra, you do need that buffer, you need that support. So for Solo to commit there, it felt like maybe overconfidence. It felt like maybe Solo was a little bit overconfident, did overextend, bled out too many Hydras. Once he realized what was going on, then he kited back, then he pulled the boys, but it was too late. GG. GG, well played. Whew. And thankfully for Classic, he barely had enough income to warp in Zealots, to warp in a handful of Zealots, then take it from there. GG. Whew. GG, well played. With that, congratulations. Classic, he will claim the series, and with that, he will advance on to the upper bracket semifinals. Meanwhile, we're here to find out who will join him, as up next we have another best of 3. It's going to be a PvT between Hero and Cure. Let's go. Let's go.